Doesn't seem like it was only 3 days ago. As we get ready to see the title running in this part of the world, from here we move on to Japan before then heading across to Australia, Thailand and Malaysia, where I'm sure we'll then be gearing up for a season decider at the Valencia Circuit Ricardo Tormo in the middle of November, after what was a fascinating weekend last time out. We'll come on to that in a second, Simon, but breaking news earlier on today is that the 2025 calendar is officially out. 22 rounds, 18 countries, 5 continents. It's a jam-packed calendar that we're all looking forward to, and this is what it looks like. There we go. Lots of stories to get talking to Dorna Sports Chief Sporting Officer Carlos Espeleta that joins us, the man that helps put that calendar together. Quite happy with the results?
Thank you, Jack. Yeah, happier than other years. I think it's a good one, and I think that the most important thing is that a lot of the paddock family will be happy about it. So really looking forward to it.
I'm sure a lot of fans at home have already taken a look, have filled out their diaries. In particular, some of the big changes: the start in Thailand, the fact we're returning to Brno, the new venue in Hungary that we're heading to, the double at the end of the year with Portimao and Valencia. There's a lot of key elements to take out of it that I'm sure are going to excite fans.
Yeah, thank you. I think we had a lot of we always have a lot of targets for the calendar, and as we continue to build the sport globally and reach out to new fans. And this year gave us the possibility of sort of rethinking the calendar a bit. With Ramadan, we had the option to start in Thailand. It's something that we'd actually tried in the past in 2020 before the pandemic, and which was impossible. And they've now seen the great attractiveness of being the opener for the season for both 2025 and 2026. And then from there on, I think we have a very good start of the calendar with single events, let's say, till we get to the more condensed part. So all in all, I think it's a good calendar for all of us. We have it's atypical from what we've seen these past couple of seasons, but we have a more compensated calendar with a less intense final of the year, which the riders have I think will appreciate, and a more compensated in terms of number of events at the beginning and number of events at the end. So happy with that.
Yeah, I would like to point out for the listeners, I think what you meant about keeping the paddock family happy, and me too when I saw it, is a race on, a race off, a race on, so you get to go home between, especially in Europe. I think that's what you meant. And triple headers, the lack of them, how hard that is. For the listeners, I want to point out that it's really tough. You know, you get less energy after each one, and by the third one, you're flagging. My questions, Carlos, is, I hope you don't mind, I'd love to start with what happened to India.
Yeah. With India, it's a hugely important market for MotoGP and for the motorcycling industry, and we have an agreement with the region of Uttar Pradesh, which is where the Bud International Circuit is, and we continue to work with them. Unfortunately, with the deadlines that we had to publish the calendar, it wasn't possible for us to meet all those deadlines in terms of selection of the promoter, organizer, the circuit, the upgrades that the circuit had to do, and both the government of Uttar Pradesh and us agreed that it was the best way forward to have a full year and a half to prepare for the event, because it's a massive undertaking. These events, a lot of people don't realize how the scope of it and the scale of everything that's involved, and selecting a new promoter into the sport, and in India especially. We continue to think that there's tremendous potential, but we've agreed that it's the best way forward is to postpone it by 1 year.
I've got a couple of others, but I'll let Jack go next.
No, you fire away, son.
Okay, so thanks, Jack. The things on my mind is Brno. Love that circuit, both as a rider in the past, but going there, the area, the town, the track layout, absolutely fantastic. I'm guessing it's being resurfaced?
It hasn't been resurfaced yet. It's part of the conditions for us to return. Is the resurfacing of the track. Obviously, there's other things that they have to improve, and those have all been agreed. And we're really looking forward to it. It's a traditional event for MotoGP, one that has attracted so many fans, for decades now, and both the government of Czech Republic and MotoGP are thrilled to have it back.
Awesome. I'm really happy to see that one back. And the one I have no clue about, I'm hoping to get some info, is Hungary. I don't know anything about the layout, the area. Can you explain a little?
Well, we've had an agreement with the government of Hungary for some years now. Also, because of the pandemic, there's been some delays in different projects, and we're very happy to announce 2 weeks ago that we will be racing at Balaton Park. Balaton is the biggest lake in Central Europe, a very popular vacation destination for Hungarians and others.
So lots of accommodation for us.
So lots of great accommodation for us and all our fans. Beautiful scenery, great food, and really looking forward to that too. The circuit is quite recently built. It has to undergo quite significant changes, which we have agreed already, and we'll actually, I think it would be a good idea to show to the fans soon what the changes will be. There's already news out there, but basically the circuit is quite an atypical layout. It's got a lot of fast sections which need to be modified for MotoGP, and then it's going to result in some very slow, very technical sections, which I think the riders will enjoy. So really great to have Hungary back in the calendar. It has a great tradition in motorsport, and we think that it'll be a great event.
You're not kidding about the food. I've spent some time there. The last one, before I get too greedy and I'll hand it back to Jack, is Portimao. I was afraid it wasn't going to be on there. Again, love the layout and the area. I see a little asterisk there. It's not for sure. Could you explain there?
I feel like if you did the calendar, it would all be according to layout. That's what would get that's what would get the preference.
And the surrounding area.
Okay, yeah. and restaurant and food and accommodation. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Portugal, we have some contractual obligations that they have to meet, but it all looks
promising.
Well and done, and they'll go on sale for tickets very soon. So everything looks good. It's a circuit that many people, including myself, but a lot of the riders love. And I think with this new date for them in November, I think it'll be very popular as well. Ending the season with Portugal and Valencia. Of course, you'll have some people in favor and some people against, but It's looking like a great way to end the championship back in Europe. Great time zone for the championship and all the fans. So happy with that too.
Thank you, Carlos and Jack.
Yeah, last couple from me before we let you go. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fans in South America really pleased to see Argentina return to the calendar. I know that whenever we go to Termas, one of the games we love playing is spotting the different number plates and the amount of distance that people travel to get to that venue. Is the real confidence that we will be returning to Argentina? Yes,
everything looks great. As every year, I think last year we had some challenges given the political situation that the country was in that moment, but everything looks very positive, like with all the other events, I would say. So really happy. It's a great fan base. I think the circuit has provided incredibly good racing through the years, and the fan bases are the fans of MotoGP. They're as you said, travel a huge way. It's a big continent, and all of them love the road trip to Argentina. So glad to have them back on the calendar. And just finally, not to get too ahead of ourselves, because the 2025 calendar was released today, but how do we see the calendar developing over the next couple of years? We know that there is interest to potentially bring a second US round onto the calendar. Just how do you see it progressing? Well, the clear one, the clear change will be India when they're included in the calendar in 2026, and we have interest from a number of countries, South America, Southeast Asia, Middle East, US. So all of those look like very very positive prospectus or projects, and with these things it sort of takes a long time, because there's again the projects are massive, the scope is very big, there's normally a lot of of parts involved, and it's really important for us to concentrate on delivering all 22 events in the calendar for next year, and it's continues to be a balance between our traditional venues and Europe as we continue to grow the sport to new audiences, both inside Europe this year and overseas in the future. So, we love our sport so much. We're just, looking to get more people into it. Absolutely. We're always happy to have a few different stamps in the passport as well when the years tick by. Carlos, you'll get some more soon, I'm sure of that. We look forward to it. Thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man, and again, great work on the calendar. We're both extremely looking forward to it. Thank you, guys. There we go. Carlos. Awesome. Great to be able to chat away with Dorna's Chief Sporting Officer, Carlos Espeleta. And there we go, 2025, looking like a very good year indeed, Simon, in terms of the rider lineup that we now know is confirmed, a few different venues on there. It's going to be a real exciting year. And I think the big one for the people that are doing it every weekend is the race on, race off, race on, race off majority of the year. It's going to make a huge difference, like you said, to families at home and the people travelling non-stop. Okay, let's talk 2024 then, off the back of a dramatic, a controversial Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix last time out, with the victor in the end being Enea Bastianini, thanks to that last lap overtake that I'm sure you've all seen by now and you all have an opinion on. 24 points, the difference between Jorge Martin and Pecco Bagnaia. How crucial could those 5 points be come the end of the year? We'll have to wait and see. Simon, few days on, has your opinion changed at all of what we saw just a couple of days ago? No. As we discussed, I'm sure, with Lewis in After the Flag on Sunday evening, I imagine that the stewards who didn't investigate it, we spoke to Gino Borsoy, who did say that they sent a team member up there to try and get an understanding of why that decision was made. With regards to the rules, I've seen a lot of people on social media speaking about the fact that Enea went off the track, but I know that both me and you spoke afterwards, and we said that actually the only reason Enea went off the track was because he had that sort of what's the right word? Check on George. Yeah, he wanted to check on Jorge to see how he was, which often some riders might just have kept their heads down and gone, and he would have stayed on the track if that was the case. So it's a controversial one because of the amount of opinions that we have out there, but I think we're in agreement that
the right decision was made?
Well, first of all, the stewards did investigate it. They investigate everything. I've been spending a little bit of time up there over the last 4 Moto3 races and all Moto2 sessions during the weekend, and starting to understand what they do. They've got, like in Misano, around 160 or just under cameras.
Wow.
50 dedicated for them alone, so they get to set up the positions, plus all the IPF, which is what we see on TV, and all of the circuit CCTV ones that they use, track days and things like that. So just under 160 cameras. I've seen from being up there, they investigate everything, meaning every time there's a nudge out there, they check it out. If someone's gets pushed off track, all the track limits, there's a dedicated team just for that. And what I'm getting at is, just because you don't see under investigation on the TV doesn't mean, because they don't actually write that on the TV. Just because you didn't see it on there doesn't mean they aren't. They spent that whole warm down lap time going through it, watching all their different angles and making a decision straight up. And their decision was the same as you and I, which was the opposite of about 50% of the people, as in no penalty.
Yeah, and I think both the stewards, us, and a lot of fans at home as well, want to see riders making a move on the final lap, at least attempting to make a move on the final lap, as long as it doesn't go over the line, which this was close to it, but certainly I don't feel, and you don't feel, went over it. There was minimal contact there.
Oh, definitely. Both of them were absolutely on the limit. We just got to see the great view there of where we saw all of the great views, to be honest, and where Enea went onto the paint. That corner, I'm lucky enough to get to ride it every year for the GoPro lap, and that corner is very tight.
Yeah.
And if you get it slightly quick, you end up off the track. You go straight ahead. And Enea made the corner, stood it up. There's a short straight between the turns, get back on the gas, then looked over his left shoulder to check on Jorge. I'm sure it wasn't completely... what's the word, selfless, checking Jorge out.
Probably because he wasn't in the gravel track.
Yeah, because he wanted to know that Jorge was up and okay, everything, because that'll have an effect probably on the decision. And it was so slow, the chance of getting hurt there is very low. Great shot. See, I honestly think, look at Jorge's having a little bit of trouble stopping, and Nea has decided to do it. That does a great job. There's no green paint, by the way. Does a great job of making the turn, and then looks over his shoulder, and straight up, as soon as you look over your shoulder, your bike veers that way, no matter what. And because, the general rule is the machine goes where you look. Here's another great shot. I personally think...
This is a good one to see. Look, he's inside track limits there.
I mean, the thing is, what Enea did, I think he pulled it off magic, because it's so difficult to do. And you don't have to agree with me, but it's how I feel, and obviously how the stewards felt. Did a great job of a block pass on Jorge on the final lap, without being dangerous, without being out of control, without a big impact. So those things together add for, I think, should be allowed to do a block pass on the last lap without those things. So if we stop that at that level, then we're going to see some boring last laps, And I don't mean that it's okay to impact someone. I don't. And I don't think it would have been okay if Enea had gone straight ahead with Jorge. Oh, that's different. No. It means you're not in control enough to make the corner yourself. So... But he wasn't, he wasn't out of control.
As usual, not only a lot of opinions online, a lot of opinions in the paddock. Pretty much an even split, I think, in between riders who felt it should have been a penalty, riders who were more than happy to see Enea make that attack and get away with it as well. And I think you always have to look at the relationships that those riders have within the paddock, and to be then drawing your conclusions. For one, the rider who was strongest in the corner of Jorge Martin is his best friend, Aleix Espargaro. Very rarely is he going to go against that. A lot of the Italians in favour of Enea Bastianini, plus Jack Miller, who I think always sides on the part of allowing riders to race. And there was actually, we didn't see it on the TV cameras, but a very similar incident with Jack involving Johan Zarco further round the lap on that final lap at turn 14, where Zarco gave him a fair old nudge, and Jack just
was fine about it.
Just shrugged his shoulders and said, we're racing motorbikes, it's the last lap. I'd do the exact same thing if the shoe was on the other foot. So, yeah. As always, the conversation will roll on, I'm sure, into the press conference, which does feature the top 4 in the World Championship in around 15 minutes' time.
I'd like to finish on, there's been a lot worse incidents, even this year, that didn't get a penalty, and I would have. That's only different takes on it, but this one, I'm firmly siding with the stewards.
Yeah, the interesting one, or the one that made me chuckle, was Marc Marquez's view that it should have been a drop one place penalty, even though we've seen Marc countless times down the years do very, very similar with maybe a little bit more aggression. And Marc is, well, I don't want to call him a liar, but he would be lying if he said he wouldn't do exactly the same thing in that same position.
Again, when he was asked, I said this after the flag, he hadn't seen all the angles. He hadn't even seen Anaya go off the track. He just asked Bertie, did he go off track? And Bertie said yes. And so he judged it on that, which I don't think is completely fair on Marc to ask him when he hasn't seen all the angles. I'd be interested to see if he still feels the same.
I'm sure we will ask that question to the 8-time world champion, who now sits 4th in the World Championship standings, 60 points adrift. Enea Bastianini there in 3rd, thanks to that victory, 59 adrift. But again, we'll talk about that top 2, because Jorge Martin was understandably frustrated to miss out on victory after what was a fantastic ride up until that final lap. But 20 points were 20 valuable ones after Pecco Bagnaia, rather surprisingly, crashed out of his home Grand Prix. It was a freak race for Bagnaia, where he started and seemed to have no rhythm, no pace whatsoever, then suddenly sparked into life and was setting lap records for fun, before then eventually crashing out in a situation that he described as being impossible in dry conditions. Have we got any further answers since of what on earth happened to Pecco on Sunday?
Oh, I listened to Pecco's debrief that night, and I still went away from that debrief thinking the same as I thought during the race. I've seen over the decades riders have a problem in a race, great riders, the riders at the front, and struggle, go backwards, and then find a way to adapt and squeeze everything out of what they have and go forward again. And I thought, wow, this is one of those. But obviously, he didn't feel 100%. He was pushing. He didn't want to keep going backwards. He wanted to go forwards and overstep the mark with what he had, pushed it too hard. But I have no doubt. I mean, Pecco was the man to beat that weekend.
He said that as well. That's why the frustration came from. I was the fastest man on Friday.
Yeah, and Saturday was magic. It's a real shame whatever happened. But yeah, it's racing. I think he's going to be disappointed that he didn't just manage what he had, because he was flying, wasn't he? The lap times that started coming in, obviously he overstepped with what the package he had on Sunday. Now
24 points, as we've mentioned, with 6 rounds to go. For the first time this year, do you feel that Jorge Martin might have stepped into the role as favourite for the World Championship now?
The thing is, as soon as we think that, it reverses again, doesn't it? As soon as we think Pecco's got the edge, then it goes back the other way. Martin, now we're thinking, well, Martin's in a good... Last year here, it went back the other way with Martin doing an amazing job on Sunday, streaking away and then crashed, So the thing is about our championship, it's very unpredictable when the riders are right on the edge, of crashing. So it happens regularly. The big thing, my takeaway, is Jorge and now Pecco making those mistakes has allowed Enea and Marc to close, which is great for us watching, because it's starting to turn into a 4-man fight, which is absolutely brilliant. About Jorge, I imagine he's very disappointed, and so would I be leading if someone did that move on me. Anyone is going to be disappointed. Yeah. On the receiving end. Actually, it was Pedro, who I love to listen to Pedro Acosta's debriefs. He's so wise for his age, always. And he said, I don't see it as sanctionable but it wasn't on me, meaning if it had happened to him, he's going to be angry as well.
We're going to have to be very careful what we say here, because just behind the camera, we do have the world champion himself grinning at us, checking every word we say. Don't worry, we've been complimentary so far, Pecco. We're saying that it's a big weekend for you. Would you agree? He nods. Thumbs up. There we go. We've got the agreement from the world champion. Double thumbs up of the importance of this weekend. But you do feel that potentially the game plan might have to change ever so slightly now, because he is playing catch up, and it's not just a single digit figure that he's trying to close down. 24 points, it's a race win.
Which is about a third of what he made up a couple of years ago, against Fabio late in so 2 years ago. So it's well doable. He has the best machine. When he's on form, he is the fastest rider. And it swings back and forwards between the two men on screen right now. And yes, the other two are coming in to the picture. And Anea, again, I think he was magic on Sunday, like he was Silverstone, absolutely magic there. Maybe he can do some more of those, which will make it interesting. And I've always thought when we come to these flyaways where we have more dodgy conditions, or at least threats of rain or wind and rain in Phillip Island, for example, Mark is normally very good at dealing with those changing conditions, but he also makes some mistakes. So it is really unpredictable, which I love.
Absolutely. I think with regards to Anea as well, you mentioned that Silverstone ride. It felt at the British Grand Prix as if he was the man all weekend, and it was only going in one direction. But on the opposite, in Misano on Friday afternoon, there was a clear difference between Pecco and Jorge and Anea. So the fact that he was able to close that gap and get ahead of Jorge, I think, shows what an incredible job both him and the team did over the course of the weekend.
Bang on. I couldn't have put that better. The other thing, he said 4 laps into the sprint race, he couldn't get his tyres up to temperature. Yeah. They worked on fixing that, and they did. He was the man on Sunday.
Yeah, top job, and now third in the World Championship. 59 adrift is the beast in title contention. One thing we do know for sure is the two men that we just had on shot, the world champion Pecco Bagnaia and the World Championship leader Jorge Martin, are going to go toe-to-toe once again this weekend. Let's officially kick off the Pertamina Indonesian Grand Prix with our first press conference featuring the top 4 in the World Championship, hosted as ever by Matt Burt.